Episode 59 of People I Know show. Curt Carstensen with Marlena Jordan-Childress.
59, is that how old you are?
That is how old I will be one day. And then like 30 or 40 more years.
Ugh, it's a long time.
We've had a good day. I mean, it could have been better. The Vikings could have won. But they did not win. So we're recording this. I've never recorded a podcast episode later than we're recording this right now. And the one person I can trust that's capable of recording something so late is you, Marlena.
After I worked a full day and then went to a football game, you trust me to get this right.
For the fans of the Lena Child, at Lena Child Instagram page, they know that late into the evenings, you're capable of bringing plenty of energy.
This is when I thrive, honestly.
And I'm going to have you hold the microphone closer.
This is when I thrive, honestly.
Okay, so the reason I'm here, there's two reasons. One is the Minnesota Vikings played a Monday Night Football game in Seattle where we're recording this.
I love that you keep mentioning that because it just makes me feel like I'm second to a football game.
You're not second.
Just definitely wasn't the primary reason.
I wouldn't have come for just the game if you weren't here.
You wouldn't have come for just me if there wasn't the game, is what you actually mean to say.
This is me, and maybe this is how other people do things, but if I need two reasons to do anything.
My personality and my smile.
Your
Done.
personality, your smile, and the Vikings. No, I knew that I'm always welcome to visit you. I visited you 3 years ago when you lived in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. We together went to San Francisco for the first time.
And we went to see a game there, too.
We saw the San Francisco Giants play the somebody's. I don't know who it was back then.
Don't remember who won
No,
either.
it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Saw the stadium, walked around, saw the bay right behind the stadium, which is kind of cool. You are someone that's traveling a lot. I don't know if I travel more than you or you travel more than me. Or we both kind of go a lot of places, but we have that in common. And that kind of brought us together for this time. You're laughing at me. You can just laugh into the microphone. What are you laughing about?
Because you're staring at me.
Well, I'm trying to block the light from hitting you in the face.
Sorry. You should just throw this tape away.
No, we don't throw tapes away. Tape is valuable.
Okay, perfect.
Tape doesn't even exist anymore, really. So one thing that I find so fascinating is when I asked you to be on the podcast, you didn't think there was anything to talk about.
Still don't think
I trust that you don't think that yet. But I do remember many months ago you suggested that you should be on the podcast.
I did?
Yeah.
Was I drunk?
Probably.
I would say 9 times out of 10 I am drunk, so...
And that leads back or brings us back to the moment where this little trip happened because I'd seen that you had a 30th birthday party without me. And it wasn't just a normal 30th birthday. I thought I had an epic 30th birthday party.
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't that you weren't invited. It just honestly blew up way bigger than I was planning on it. And it was I just was oh yeah, this person. Oh yeah, this person. So there was plenty of people that you weren't forgotten. It was just it blew up way bigger than I ever
I'm not upset.
expected.
I don't care. I think my voice is cracking. I was yelling at the Vikings losing the game tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not upset that I wasn't there. But that party demonstrated something kind of unique about you. I had a cool 30th birthday party many years ago, 30 bars for my 30th birthday. That was neat. That's way in the past. What were the highlights you'd say from your 30th birthday party? It wasn't just a simple night out. You did this thing kind of big.
I have bruises on my body from being kicked by a horse.
A horse that just happened to be at your party? Why was there a horse at your party?
Great question, Curt.
Yeah.
I rented a horse ranch, a property on a 5-acre ranch with horses. However, I didn't anticipate the horses would be walking around. They were just roaming the land. And I didn't plan for that. And so they were roaming the land and I got a little too close and one kicked me. But it's okay because I rode that sucker the next day. It was great. I taught that horse who was boss.
How many days were you at this place? Where was this?
Only 3.
Only 3 days.
Yeah, it was a little bit outside of Palm Springs, Indio Valley.
You and 22 of your closest friends?
Me and 22 of my closest friends, yes. Sorry you weren't there.
That's fine. I mean, I'm kind of bitter, not really. But this was in California.
Yeah.
Where you used to live.
Yeah.
Where did these people come from that came to celebrate with you?
A little bit of everywhere.
That's cool.
I have some friends from Minnesota because I used to live there, which you were aware because that's where we met each other. I had one friend from Atlanta, some friends from Seattle, some friends from LA. I had a friend from Chicago. I think that's it.
I remember the message I sent you, paraphrasing, right after you had this birthday party. I said something about, like, how's retirement going? Because I swear the week before your birthday, you spent a week in Hawaii. And it must have been no more than 2 months before that. You spent like 2 weeks in Europe or a week and a half or whatever you did.
Yeah.
So how is retirement? Tell me how you're able to do these things. I'm able to do a lot of comparable things probably. But the point of the many points, there's always many points every time I have someone on. I'm pretty sure there's other people that want to like do more fun, crazy, wild things and haven't quite figured it out yet. I think that you have. And I want to know your secrets.
My secret is I make irresponsible decisions constantly in the pursuit of happiness. So I'm having a great time and I'm really enjoying life right now. Maybe not making the best decisions for Marlena in 5 years. Probably won't have a liver in 5 years, but who needs that?
No,
right?
they get you a new one.
Yeah, but I don't know. You mean like how am I actually doing it?
But what's the mentality? Because I don't know that it's that common. I like it. When I see you do cool things, it reminds me that I need to do cool things. And in fact, I almost didn't make this trip here. A couple things happened. One was you told me you only live once or something like that. And I thought, dang it, you know what? I usually don't say no to opportunities. So I felt like, oh, I probably should find a way to go. And then you were able to come across some tickets to the game, which made me think, I can't not go. You're able to give me
those are really good. Those are really good
seats.
And a really good game.
Really good game. And I'm happy I was there. The Vikings lost. My team lost. Whatever. I still got to experience a new stadium in a city that I'd only been once before. Got to hang out with you again for 3 days and meet some of your cool coworkers and their spouses and whoever else was there.
How's your liver doing?
My liver's okay. I learned not to overdo it. Okay. Usually. Saturday was a different story. Since then, I can't like go back to back to back. I don't do that.
Yeah, me either. I guess my secret is kind of like what you said. Like I just don't, for better or worse, I don't say no to opportunities. I ended up in Europe because my friend, he was traveling over there and he said, hey, come meet me in Europe. I said, sure. I was in Hawaii. Me and my girlfriends had decided we were going to do a birthday trip and some type of way ended up in Hawaii. And that's where I ended up. And I said, sure. And then my birthday party, I don't celebrate. I don't really care about birthdays. Birthday parties just aren't like a thing to me. Because, I celebrate Conception Day. Conception Day is where it's at.
What's your Conception Day?
February 14th.
Oh.
The whole world is celebrating with me. I feel just so loved on February 14th. And birthdays aren't really my thing. And my friend, earlier this year, we were in Nashville for another person's 30th birthday. And she's like, we're throwing this party. It doesn't matter if only 5 people show up. Like, we'll be there. It's going to be great. And I was like, sure, if you want to do it, do it. So I just constantly, like, for better or worse, I say yes to most opportunities. And I guess I don't believe in any mistakes in life. I think everything in life presents a lesson, and some lessons are harder than others. I guess that's what would be like the bad things in life, but in everything you do there's a lesson to be learned, and sometimes those lessons are just you learn them a hard way versus an easy way. So
is there a hard lesson you've learned recently, or has there never been a hard lesson? Are you still waiting for it?
Shit, am I waiting for it?
No. Probably not. I mean, you mentioned hard lessons, but I don't.
Hard lessons, I can't fit into any of my clothes because I keep eating like there's no tomorrow and drinking. Hard lesson. Probably I'll never be able to buy a house because I keep spending like there's no tomorrow. I don't know. Are those hard lessons?
I don't know, but you're able to afford this nice apartment in a really cool part of Seattle, Ballard.
Yeah.
Like, I'd been to Seattle once before, and I knew that Ballard was like the young, hip, cool people. I don't know if we use those words anymore. But then I asked where you live, and he said Ballard. I'm like, holy crap, like right by all the action? And yeah, you do. This is a really neat place to live, and you're doing it, and you can afford it apparently. I mean, they're not like knocking on the door right now, coming to kick you out. I don't think.
No, it's because it's too late at night, so they wait into the morning.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like it here. I like to be in the thick of things.
Life's good?
Life's great.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna get tricked up on a question here.
No, well, I don't
I have absolutely no complaints in my life. If I have any complaint about anything, it's not sleeping enough or resting enough or taking more me time. But like I also don't like I'm like there's always gonna be more time for me. There's not gonna be more time. Like anything can happen, and I don't want to miss like my friend, like hanging out with my friends and spending time with them, because who knows, they might be gone tomorrow or I might be gone, and I'm not going to regret that. I can always get more sleep. I can always get a little more exercise in on my own. So I don't know, like if I regret anything, I'm like, oh, I'm just really tired. I can really use some rest, but I don't regret the time I spend with my friends and family.
Do you suffer from FOMO, the fear of missing out? Has that ever been a thing for you? Like, where you haven't been somewhere that you wish you were, and then that enacts you to always say yes in the future?
Yeah, I've like had a couple, like I feel like when I was like first starting out in my 20s, like, you know, there's a way you do things, like, you know, there's like this like path. You're like, you go to college and you marry your college sweetheart and you buy a house and you do all these things. And I was like, this is the path I'm on. I do everything for this path and only this path. And I feel like I said no to a lot of things, but my friends were like in their 20s having fun, being young, being dumb. And I was saying no to things because I was like, that's not what's on my path to success. And this is what success looks like for me. So I feel like now I'm like, I don't want to be that person anymore. Does it make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that. You haven't been that person for a while, it seems like.
No.
And you've now lived in a few of the major cities in the country.
Yeah.
Most recently, Los Angeles, currently Seattle. Minneapolis, I don't know if it quite ranks in that way, but, you know.
Number 15 DMA.
And you grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
Do you have a desire to live in all the big cities and sample the world?
I want to collect a license in all 50 states.
You're going to pick up your pace here.
Yeah, man, I got to stop. Maybe if I just stop working and just start hopping around different states, it'll be a little faster. Well, what's your question?
The question is, like, you've lived and worked for major companies or associated with major companies in some big cities.
Oh.
And is that a lifestyle that you see yourself being a part of for as long as you're able to, or is there something different in the future?
I wouldn't say I ever saw myself living in any of the cities. Like, I ended up in Minnesota. For better or for worse, I refused to like write a college essay because I'm that person. I was like, I'm not writing a college essay. Minnesota didn't require a college essay. I went to the campus. I was like, sure, I'll go here. Like, I honestly picked Minnesota out of a hat. I'm very grateful for it. Like, yes, I just said that.
It's a good school. So they seem to let, the way you're making it sound, so they let anybody in.
Well, no, I did really good in high school.
Oh, okay.
I like got basically straight A's. I participated in a lot of clubs. I did pretty good, like average on my ACTs. Like I was like a decent student, but like it wasn't like I was like, I feel like I've never had, there are a lot of people that are like, they grow up being, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a firefighter, or I want to do this. I've never had that. Like, and it kind of sucks sometimes to think like I don't have like this greater thing I'm chasing after in life. I don't. And it kind of sucks. But like, that's what happened like in Minnesota. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. This school seems cool. Like, I went to the campus. I was like, it's beautiful here. I don't want to live in Chicago anymore. I'll go. And I ended up there, and my college counselor actually just picked my major for me. I was like, sure, I'll major in advertising. I like wish I was joking, Curt. Like this.
What was your major?
I went to school pre-med. Quickly found out that I didn't need to be pre-med. I hate math and science. Absolutely hate math and science. And so then I declared my minor first, and it was cultural studies and comparative literature. Who knows what that means?
Cultural studies and what?
Comparative literature.
Okay.
That was my minor. Cultural studies and comparative literature. And Then I went in, like, at 60 credits, you have to declare a major. And I was like, I refuse to be in college for more than for 8 semesters because it's very expensive. I was like, I'm getting in, getting out. So I go to my counselor and I was like, I'm majoring in communications. And she was like, what are you going to do with a communications degree? I was like, I don't know. Everybody needs to communicate in life. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, right? And she was like, have you ever thought about strategic communications? I was like, oh, what's that? And she's like, well, here's a pamphlet on the School of Journalism. It's advertising. I was like, sure, sign me up. So, like, look at the way you're looking at me. You're judging me.
I'm not judging you. This is your life, and I'm curious how this all played out. I had no idea.
So I'm like, cool, I'll major in strategic communications with an emphasis on advertising. And by way of getting that degree plus my minor, there was so much intersection that I ended up getting a second degree in studies in cinema and media culture, which I don't use. That literally meant I spent 4 years of college watching movies. Love movies, so it's great. Use that degree constantly every night while watching Netflix. I got these 2 degrees and it's like minor, and like, but if it wasn't for my guidance counselor being like, here's like, first off, it wasn't for like Minnesota contacting me and being like, apply to our school, and me just being like, sure, whatnot. And my guidance counselor like being like, here's this major, you should look at it. I'm like, sure, why not? But wow, you're honestly, I told you, I just like out of control. I ended up with an advertising degree, and I ended up with a job in Minnesota, and I stayed in Minnesota for a few years. And I was honestly, truly, I was like, I knew that to make it in advertising, I need to go to a bigger city. And I was like, I'm going to move back home to Chicago. And I was looking for jobs in Chicago, and this LA opportunity just knocked at the door. And I was single. I was young. I was like 25. I wasn't attached. I didn't have any kids. And I was like, you'll pay for me to move to LA? Sure. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? And like, literally my contract was like, you come to LA for a year. Like, you leave you for a year, you pay them back. If not, like, you keep the money. And I was like, sure, I'll move to LA for a year. I ended up in LA for 3 years. And again, I was like, LA just wasn't the place for me. I'm not an LA girl. As much as it might look like from all the partying. You do. It's not my style. I'm not an LA girl. I'm a Midwest girl. It's not my vibe. I feel like I'm not breathing.
You can breathe if you want. You ended up then going to Seattle. Did you choose Seattle? Did Seattle choose you?
So again, I was like, I got to get out of LA. This just isn't my vibe. I'm trying to move. And I was like, again, trying to move back to Chicago. And out of the blue, someone contacted me and was like, are you interested in Seattle? And the Seattle thing happened. The LA thing happened pretty fast, but the Seattle thing happened so fast. I think the time between me first having a conversation with someone and me like being my last day at work was probably like a 3-week thing. Like, it happened so fast. I like was later like, hi, are you interested in this? All of a sudden I was in Seattle doing an interview, and then I gave like 1 week notice, and all of a sudden I was like living in Seattle. And it happened. I remember people, I think when you're like in the moment, or at least for me, when I'm in the moment, I'm so focused on like, what is the task that needs to be accomplished? And all I see is this task. And I'm constantly just like, do this, do this, do this. These are the things on my checklist. These are the things I need to do to hit this one task. And I don't see all this stuff, for better or worse. I don't see all the stuff that's happening around me. So I remember people being like, is everything okay? Like, you move so quickly. It came out of the blue. And I was like, yeah, everything's great. And I think it was because everything, like, I only saw that I like need to get to Seattle by this date, and that's all I saw. But like, if you like sit back and look, it was like, whoa, I literally packed up my entire apartment in a week. I only moved with what could fit in my car, and it was like, how did I get all this stuff out of my apartment in 1 week and have it packed and live in? And I got into this apartment, like, I drove to Seattle. Very first day I'm in Seattle, I was like, I like this apartment. I want to move in. Can you move me in tomorrow? And she was like, sure. And like, that's why I live in this apartment. Wow, my life has just been handed to me on a platter. It was just like, here. Nothing I have done has been by choice of my own. I've been very fortunate.
But you're also open to just the next big thing that comes your way instead of having your life designed in any way. It doesn't seem like you have this grand design for what you want from your life. You take advantage of good opportunities when they present themselves.
Correct. And it's always just been like this can't possibly, like, what bad could come of it? It's always been like, cool, I go to Seattle for a year. Worst case, I was like, nothing in life is permanent. Everything can constantly change. And I'm like, I moved to Seattle. I don't like it. Guess what? I don't have to stay there. It's not permanent. I can always change my mind. I can always move back to Chicago or back to LA. And that's the mindset I work with. It's like, nothing's permanent. Just go try it out and see if you like it. And I have more of a fear of, I wouldn't say it's missing out. It's more, I never want to wonder, and maybe it is missing out. I never want to wonder what could have been. I rather go, like, I know what was waiting for me in Chicago. I know what was waiting for me if I stayed in Minnesota. I didn't know what was waiting for me if I moved to LA or if I took the leap to Seattle. And I didn't want to wonder, wow, what could my life have looked like instead? I know what my life would look like. If I lived in Minnesota right now, I'd be married, I have kids. Like, and I know that. And that's the life I planned for myself. But I think my life has turned out so much better than I ever planned. And I'm okay. I'm happy with that. Wow.
What do you want from now then? You're 30 recently, still very young.
Haha.
Good job, good opportunities. What are you looking for? What do you have anything that you're specifically looking for, or are you just gonna keep doing your thing until the next good opportunity slides in front of you?
And that's my problem right there.
Okay, we're getting to it.
I don't think I've ever had to think about what, like, when college counselor was like, here's your major. Friend was like, here's a job in LA. Here's a job in Seattle. And I've never had to think, like, once I've been like in a very like unhappy position, I've been very motivated to like change that. But I've never like been in oh, I'm happy right now, and this is why I want in 5 years. And so I don't have, and this is, it's actually something I constantly am trying to like figure out, like, who am I? What do I want for myself? What's my journey? What's my next step? I'm constantly asking myself that question. I don't know, because all I care about in this world is being happy. And is happiness continuing down my same career path? I don't know. It could be being the VP at my company. It could be being a stay-at-home mom. Like, I truly don't know what happiness looks like, and I don't want to paint myself into a box of what I think happiness is supposed to look like. But I'm also very mindful that, like, some point you can't just keep drawing sticks out of a hat. So I try very hard. Like, I keep telling myself that, like, who am I? I'm like, I am a storyteller, and I'm like, it's like what I like to do, like in my job, like the things that bring me joy in my job are like taking a lot of complex information, distilling it into very snackable, bite-sized, digestible, like easily presentable streams of information. I like that. I like posting on my Instagram because I feel like I'm telling stories. I'm like, everything I do, like, I feel like I just really like telling stories and being a storyteller. So I'm like, I want to always stay true to that no matter what I decide to do. But like, I don't have like a big grand scheme of like, this is like what my 5, 10, 20 year plan is. And I don't know.
You, with your Instagram, and I guess I find this fascinating. I don't know how many people I follow, a couple, 200, 300. I don't know how many people's stories I really watch regularly. Yours is one of them. You have the most entertaining Instagram of the people that I follow, and it might be in part because I know you and I like you. I like your personality. That's why we're friends this many years into knowing each other. But you have a way of being way more entertaining than anybody else, and I don't know if you even realize that.
But what am I usually doing on my Instagram?
You are, well, you. I know you're going to say you're just drinking. So are you saying you're never entertaining if you're not drinking? I don't agree with that. I don't believe that at all.
No, I'm not saying that.
I think you become maybe differently entertaining when you're drinking, but that doesn't make you. You aren't, like, I'm someone that often is hesitant thinking, what are people going to think about me? And I'm getting rid of that, but it still exists.
Oh, like me riding the horsey last night.
Yeah, and you don't care.
I just don't give a shit.
You've never cared. Have you ever cared what people think? Or what? I mean, you are entertaining because you'll do things that other people wouldn't do because they're too concerned with what other people think about them. I
think everyone at some point cares what other people think. I think I'm just a 30-year-old woman who doesn't care anymore. Sure, when I was like 16 and things like that, but at the end of the day, I come home and I'm with myself. So it doesn't matter if Joe and Mary are happy with Marlena. It only matters if Marlena's happy, and I do what makes me happy in the moment. So take it or leave it.
And you present that to your however many hundreds of followers, and
It's not that many.
Yes, it's more than me. Someone's got to. I still need you to teach me how to get more people to follow me. And I guess I'm not as entertaining as you. That's the problem. You should have the podcast, Marlena.
I literally have nothing to say. I feel like I'm just sitting here rambling to you. So
that's what you do best.
Yes.
So I guess from this, the point of me having these conversations is in part to showcase a person that has impacted me, but it's also, I mean, I want people that are hearing this to recognize in themselves, how have they gotten to where they've been to? Like, you are suggesting that you've just kind of taken advantage of some opportunities, never really had a plan, working out so far, but I think that's relatable to some people. And B, you seem very confident, or at least opposite of confident, or like you're not concerned with other people's opinions about you. And by doing that, you allow yourself to have a lot of fun, do a lot of cool things. You're not worried about how the world is seeing you. And from my perspective, I see you as someone that's just awesome because you do all these cool things. And I've never seen you do anything and thought, oh, Marlena, why are you doing that? I don't care. You're fun and it's cool. And I like hanging out with you. And I don't know if you realize that you have that appeal to other people. Maybe it's just me, maybe nobody else, but I think it's a lot of people.
I'll take a step back because I feel like maybe my life has been quite random. I have just taken, like, it's been a series of choices that have worked out for me. However, I will say I work very, very, very hard. Like, there are days where I'm in the office for 14 hours a day and people don't see that side of things. And so, I don't want people to listen and think that, like, oh, I can just, goof off and life will be handed to me. Cause it's like, that's not it. Like, I've had some opportunities presented to me and I've said yes to those opportunities, but I've also like worked my ass off and I've like had many days. I like last Super Bowl Sunday, do you know I was sitting at my desk crying? I literally was at the office for 8 hours crying at my desk because I was trying to get some, and it's partly because I'm a perfectionist and I couldn't get something right. But it's like, people don't see that part of my everyday. People don't see how, like, I like to have a lot of fun, but I do work very hard, and like, you don't get to take trips to Europe and Hawaii and things like that without like putting in like hard work to be able to afford those things. So I don't want it to come off that way. Yes, I've just kind of, I don't want to say, but it's also like, it's not like, because there's tons of people that work very hard and don't see these things. So it's a combination of hard work and just being presented with the right opportunities at the right time and knowing the right people. I
think it's good that you said that, but to me, it's kind of clear the fact that you had a job. And is it advertising, marketing? Is it the same, different? We could clarify that for me in a minute. But you had that in Minneapolis, and whatever you'd done well enough that someone wanted to hire you and move you to Los Angeles, and then someone wanted to move you to Seattle. So yeah, we're talking about all the fun things you do, but clearly you're doing work at a level where someone sees what you're doing and wants to have you and will pay you more than someone was before, or whatever it is that gets you to move. I mean, that's apparent by you moving up and moving on.
Thank you. That's a good point. Thank you.
I've never seen much of it. I guess I've seen maybe a little bit of your work with one of the previous companies that you were doing advertisements for, but I don't really know. I never really know what people do, but I like how my interactions with them affect me in a positive way. Yeah. And you have that going on.
I forget what was the second part of what we were talking about.
Well, I want you to clarify the advertising, marketing, and how that all goes together, because I sometimes I'm confused, because right now you're working for a big company. Previously, you worked for like the advertiser marketing. I don't know. Explain it.
Yeah.
And you can talk about the names of the companies if you want. I don't care. That's up to you.
I don't have a degree in marketing, so I might get this wrong. I've only taken one marketing. I have a degree in advertising. I've only taken one, and marketing is a completely separate degree, or it's actually a separate school at the University of Minnesota. So it's the School of Carlson versus the School of Journalism. So I might get this wrong, but I think marketing has it's called the 5 Ps. So you have placement. You first and foremost have your product. What are you selling? Then you have your placement. Where is this product available? Then you have the price of the product. You have
P. Two more P's.
I forget. There's one, and then there's promotion.
Okay.
So promotion is the advertising portion. So there's a bunch of other P's that are going on in marketing, and advertising is just one of those P's. Doesn't that make sense?
It does make sense. So you're focused on one of the P's as in the advertising industry.
Yes. So previously when I was at the agency, I was at an advertising agency, and I only focused on the one piece. And still, now that I've been brought internally, I still have my specialty, and I focus on that piece. However, I have more insight into the other P's and how they all impact my P.
Because you've seen it from the outside, the inside, you're better at doing your job now than if you'd have walked into this job 6 years ago, you wouldn't have had all these perspectives that you have right now, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, like they won't even hire you for my position without, I think it's like a minimum like 5 or 6 years of experience. It just requires that you have this knowledge. They look for more senior people, at least in my specific role. Yeah.
Which means then if you're however many years now you're into the field, you're going to hit more thresholds of how many, like they're looking 10 years, 15 years, whatever, which means the types of jobs you're going to be able to get, I'd imagine, keep getting a lot bigger and better.
Oh, you're making me feel like my future is so bright.
Your future is bright, Marlena.
I gotta stop drinking so I can see it. hope I make it there.
Not too soon. Like we were out tonight with the people from your work, and we had I don't know, that's like such a fun atmosphere. Like your work allows you opportunities to go to a game and allowed you to say, hey, come to Seattle because I have a ticket for you, Curt. And I came, and that was like so cool. I don't know that a lot of people realize that. Like I don't work in these types of industries right now that have these types of opportunities, and you're doing good work with big companies, and they all kind of support each other to really make working for the company like an awesome thing to do, and people want to be there, and everything just kind of builds, I think.
I feel like that's not what you said earlier.
What did I say earlier?
You said something about big companies just spending all their money.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money to throw around, but when it gets thrown at me for a little bit, I'm like, oh, cool, I want to be a part of this. I can see why people work for these companies.
Yeah.
If that's just a piece of the I guess maybe not the official agreement, the contract that you have, but you know that there's some perks to the job.
Definitely.
That was a really fun perk tonight to just experience that and meet some really cool people, really good people that you seem to have as on your team, and you get to work with. It sounds like what you're doing is a good place to be.
I enjoy it.
Good. I have some more topics for us, Marlena. How about we chit chat about one of your favorite people in the world, Taylor Swift. No, good. I want some surprises for you. 2 times in my life, I've been at or recently was at a Taylor Swift concert because my niece Chloe, who's been a guest on the podcast previously, I don't know if she and I even talked about that, but every year I take my niece and nephews on their birthday outing, whatever they want to do. Taylor Swift twice fell in line with Chloe's gift that she wanted, so I went to see 2 Taylor Swift concerts, and I actually kind of liked it, in part because back when I first knew you had introduced me to one of Taylor Swift's songs, and I think it kind of built up to me being able to go to a concert like that and like it. But I would go to these concerts, and I don't know if you were upset at me, excited for me, or whatever, but maybe just jealous that you weren't there?
Oh, hella jealous. And to be very clear, I'm not sure what specific song I introduced you to, but it was the 1989 album that won Record of the Year at the Grammys. So
Shake It Off? Is that the name of the song? What's this?
Oh, is that the one wow.
Yeah.
That wasn't even like my favorite song in that album.
But it was popular for a while.
I love that entire album. I love it. I still listen to it pretty frequently.
And you told me that you've got plans to go fly. You're flying to Los Angeles to go see Taylor Swift in concert. Like, this is something that you do. I don't know that I would fly there for that. I've seen her twice.
Yeah, I bought tickets to Loverfest, and I'm going to LA next. Wow, I see what you mean. Marlena just is up and going constantly. But yeah.
And you planned this well in advance.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't even have flights booked for Christmas yet, and Christmas is in a couple weeks. But I have an Airbnb and tickets to the Taylor Swift concert.
But that's what you love. You will have a great time, and you see it on the calendar, and you make it happen. That's what you do. That's what I think that I do. I'm afraid that other people don't do that as much as they could or should, but I want to promote that mentality of this is something I want to do, this is where I want to be, make it happen. And find a way I think you can make things happen. As long as you have the motivation to earn more money in some way or to save money elsewhere, you can do whatever you want, basically.
I feel like so many times it's just like, these are just such small dumb examples, but obviously it can manifest in much bigger ways. Like when I was living in LA, there were a couple museums. I was like, oh, one day I'm going to go to this, or one day I'm going to do this. And like, I don't live in LA anymore. I can't go to, without going to spend a flight ticket to go back to LA, I can't go to those museums. And I think it's because we constantly live in this like, one day, someday. Well, some days now. Just do it. Like, what are you waiting for? And it's those things. It's just like, what would have taken me to like, instead of like sitting on my couch on a Sunday afternoon watching Netflix, to spend 3 hours going to this museum? It would have taken very little effort. It would have taken very little dollars, and it would have been a cool experience. But instead, I came up with an excuse, and I think too often we just make up excuses for I don't know why, and I don't know why we do.
I think we get comfort. Part of it's our habits, our behavior. We get in these routines. This is what we do when when I'm in Minnesota. I don't go to lots of museums or something. But if someone's visiting, or if I'm trying to like come up with a good date idea or something, I will then think of these things that I wouldn't normally do. I think we all need to challenge ourselves to get out of the routines that we're comfortable with, but are they serving us the way that we really want them to, or is it just what we do? What we have done doesn't need to be what we will continue to do, especially if we look at those things and know that they're not in our best interest long term. We need to do something differently, and we can just make the decision that it's going to happen and push your momentum in that direction. It's certainly something you can do. Start speaking in a way like, if you start talking like, this isn't something I do, I don't know how I could ever do that, you're probably not going to. But if you use your language in a way that you decide, this is something I'm going to do, I go to concerts, I go to games, I go traveling, I'm going to make it happen. And I think it's the way we talk to ourselves will lead us into that direction.
Actually, on that point, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I make lists every year. So it's 2019, I have a list of 19 things to do this year. And by making these lists, and a year is 365 days, like it puts you on the actual timeline. And so on this list is like visit a new country, bake 5 new recipes, read 15 new books. And by constantly challenging myself, like for example, like the book thing, I'm like, I think the year prior, in 2018 was like read 12 new books. And I was like, okay, I did 12. I probably did more. So I was like, let's see what happens when I get to 15. And this year so far, I've already finished 18.
Wow.
And we still have a little bit. I'm now like, I've changed my goal for the year to make it 20. And it's one of those things where you're like, reading was always so big to me and important to me as a kid, and like in college I stopped reading, and like right after college I just like wasn't doing it anymore, and I like started pushing myself to be like, no, you're gonna read X number of books. And same thing with my baking. I bake so frequently because I'm like, no, you're gonna try X number of new recipes, and or you're gonna visit one new U.S. city, or you're gonna visit one new baseball park, and I put these things every single year, and I don't always accomplish all of them. Like in complete truth, like there's quite a few things I'm not going to accomplish this year on the list, but I try to push myself as much as possible to do as many. And I think because I'm pushing myself to always do something new, I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone and actually doing things I wouldn't normally do. Like I would probably just sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
I agree with that totally. I don't make lists, but it's by... I should make more lists. Maybe I do have lists, just not in the way that you do. I
function better that way.
I think I do have some apps where I've typed some things, and I look at them and I realize, okay, I'm going to have to do this because I've written it there. But I think with the book reference, you've set what might be a somewhat, when you first wrote it down, maybe kind of unattainable goal or a challenging goal. And then when you realize you get there, then okay, next time boost it up. And the more you push yourself, you realize it's not that hard because it becomes a new behavior, a new habit. It's not that hard to read 15, 20 books in a year if you've now devoted a certain number of hours per day or week to read. You're going to start reading books when this becomes part of your life, and that's something you enjoy and you're learning from it. It seems like it's a really good idea. And now you'll easily read 20 books every year if you keep the same behavior. Maybe you want to read more, maybe less, but it's something you've done that used to not do. I'd imagine you never read 20 books in a year, not in a long time. The fact that you're pushing it now have reset that goal late in this year to get to 20.
Yeah, and I think like you said the word that's just so important. It's habit. It's all about the habits we choose to set for ourselves and making sure we don't fall into bad habits and keep pushing ourselves to establish new good habits. Like working out. Like working out used to be such a big part of my life, and I've started to slack. And I found that like whenever I try to get back on track, it's less about the time. Like I'm like, I can get up at 5:00 in the morning, I can go work out, but it's more about establishing a habit. And if I go and I like for a couple of weeks work out 4 times a week, it feels normal. It feels natural. I'm in the habit. I crave it. But if I don't, and I don't set that habit to just like do one-offs, it doesn't like, one, it's not beneficial to me or my body or my health to just do one-offs. And it's also just not something that you can maintain because you're just like occasionally doing it versus like really putting like dedication behind something. And that's not just the case with working out, it's with anything.
With anything. Working out maybe more difficult than other things because you're exerting a lot of energy doing that, but
yeah, that's why I stopped.
And I think when you take on other opportunities, then it's some of the habits are forced to go away when you're starting to do other things with your time, and it's whatever we prioritize. There's certain people that no matter what they'd say yes to are gonna keep working out all the time because that is their number one priority or one of their top ones. For me, that's one that ends up falling away historically. It doesn't have to be, but I can see how that happens, and I understand how it happens to me. And if I prioritize it as the number one thing, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's how we set our priorities. I have a few more topics here.
Wait, we're done with Taylor Swift?
No, we can do more Taylor Swift.
Oh my God, I just love her. Everyone go out and get the Lover album. It's magic. It's not 1989, but it's magic.
At what age do you think you'll stop being a Taylor Swift fan?
I'm exactly 1 month older than Taylor Swift.
Oh.
So since me and Tay Tay are just growing up together in this world, we'll probably always be fans of each other.
Has she met you yet?
No, she has not, but maybe it's on her list. Maybe it's on her 2020 list.
Let's find a way to get it on that list just in case it's not already.
Yeah.
Okay. New topic. The fact that we've known each other for over 5 years now. Mm-hmm. We dated at one point.
Yeah.
And where this goes right here, this conversation about it, I don't know, that's kind of up to you. But on our first date, we've been going over this here since I've been here this week, and I had forgotten exactly how this played out.
I'm really curious where this is going.
Well, the fact that at the end of the first date, like we met in some park, walked.
Oh, do you mean when you told me that like my personality wasn't interesting and you would have never gone out on a second date with me? Is that what we're getting to?
I don't know if I said those words.
Definitely
but
is implied.
I do believe, because I'm sure you have this experience as well. You've been single for portions of your 20s and 30s. Hello. Now I think we're making at Lena Child's Instagram here during the middle of the conversation. That you can go on some first dates, and sometimes for whatever reason you're just not feeling like it's not a bad time, but does it elevate to the point where you're sure you're going to see this person again? And apparently, based on this conversation that you've reminded me of, at the end of our first date, I didn't feel like necessarily we would see each other again because, it was good, but not good enough.
Because I bored you.
I don't know. I don't think that's the point. I really don't. I remember what we did. But the thing that happened was I was flying to Seattle the next day. Mm-hmm. My friend George, episode 1 of the podcast, we talk about the Seattle trip. This was the day before. I was waiting for him to meet him, to go to his parents' house because his dad is going to bring us to the airport in the morning. At the end of our date, I had like an extra hour and a half to kill. And somehow I communicated that to you. And then you invited me into your place to like pass that time. And in that time, after the date was kind of over, we talked more, connected more. I really don't remember what happened, except that I left it thinking I like her better than I did at the moment where I thought I was done seeing her for the night. Because I went back to my car as I was about to leave, and then somehow I ended up hanging out with you for like another hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever it was. And it's a reminder that we can come across people in all certain points of our life, and if we make an assessment quickly, which sometimes I suppose we have to do, our assessment might not be correct. We might not have looked at it in the other ways that we could, given enough time, put yourself in a different position. And if not for that, and we stayed in contact, we dated for a couple months, something like that, did the trip a couple years ago, 3 years ago, this one here, I don't know. I've had some really good experiences with you. I like you. You're one of my favorite people I've ever come across, and it almost didn't happen because somehow in the first date, I probably didn't think it was quite going good enough to see again.
And I'll say the lesson from this story is invite complete strangers into your home. Definitely. See, again, I just am making a lot of bad decisions in life, but some type of way they work out for me.
So were you like too nice to like, did you, I don't know. I wonder what you thought of me at that point.
Of you? I don't know. Or what?
Did you feel bad for me that I had like an extra hour, a couple hours to kill? So
well, if I recall correctly, like George was like doing something. He wasn't answering his phone. And so you honestly, like you weren't in contact with him. And you're like, oh, do I like drive out to his dad's place and just like wait around in the dark? Or like, I don't think you like had like a, like, I was like, well, I don't want you just like waiting around. Like, I felt bad. Like if you were like, if you had somewhere to be or something, I'm like, okay, bye, see you later.
I had nowhere to be for a couple hours.
But it was truly like you, like, I don't think you were in contact with George.
I couldn't get a hold of him or something.
Or something. And I was just like, well, this poor guy. Like, I don't know. Again, not a good decision on my end.
It's not? Do you wish it never would have happened?
It's not that I wish it wouldn't happen. I just probably should like not invite strangers into my home. I make a lot of reckless decisions.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, like picking my college out of a hat. So
good things seem to happen from your reckless decisions.
Yeah.
Has anything bad ever happened from one of your reckless decisions?
No.
Maybe, but you're not.
I don't know.
It.
If I did, I don't remember it. Probably was drunk. I don't know. I mean, like I get like, what's bad? Like I've like clean puke out of my bed frame with a toothpick. Like that's bad. Like I guess nothing's ever been so. Like I said, like I don't think there's any mistakes in life. There's just hard lessons. You learn to drink less. You learn to go home earlier. I don't know.
You're not learning any of these lessons.
I'm not.
And it's late right now, so we'll get to my final two segments, which normally I prepare people for these. And I know you're a busy lady, but I don't know that you've been listening to the People I Know show that often. Every episode. Ouch. It's okay, Marlena. I still love you.
I love you more. I love you long time.
Love you long time. The personal growth segment, a segment I have every week because I like to promote what I've done through my conversations and like growing as a person, improving as a person. But I want to know from each one of my guests, what is it that you're doing? What have you done recently that you think, especially if we haven't talked about it yet, is really important to you growing as a person and something that you can share that might help some others?
I don't know if this is something I've done recently per se, but something I think is like an ongoing thing and I find it very beneficial. So in the age of social media, it's very easy to get caught up in looking at what everyone else is doing and just having FOMO. And it's kind of to my point earlier, it's like what you see on my Instagram is me going out to the parties and the football games and, you know, drinking and having fun with my friends. What you don't see is me spending 14-hour days at my job. And I think a lot of people get caught up in seeing those big, fun, beautiful moments that are posted and realize and forget that there's things that people aren't promoting on their page. And so, and I think it's hard to sometimes you just see that filtered, edited life and that's what you want. And so, which is actually a big part of why I put the most random things on there. Cause I just want people, like, even if you're not seeing me sitting at my desk for 14 days, cause I just don't think that's interesting to anyone, but you will see me just reading a book or going to like I try very hard to like have less of an edited life so people can just see the real me and see an unfiltered person. Anyway, to that point, something I have done over the last couple of years is I try to fill my feed with a lot of positivity. And I think it's easy these days because there's so much bad in the world. So like you see all this negative news and you see all these reality TV stars and you see all these fake lives and everything. Instead, I fill my feed with people. There's this whole like BOPO movement, like it's about body positivity, and it's all these girls that come in different shapes and sizes. There's even men and things like that, and they talk about their struggles with weight loss or mental illness and things like that, and it's so raw and unfiltered, and it reminds you to be raw and unfiltered yourself, and it reminds you that it's okay not to have it all together all the time. And it makes me feel inspired because a lot of times those people have stories that are just so hard. Like sometimes we all just sit around and like, my life is so hard. And don't get me wrong, we all have our own struggles, but then when you see the things that these other people are accomplishing, and it's not even like sometimes it's not even these big feats. It's just like they talk about how like there are days they can't get out of the bed and they get out of the bed and you're just like, wow. Like, and I don't know. I just try really hard to fill my like social media feeds with those types of positive people that remind me to not take anything for granted and remind me to live a unapologetic, unfiltered life. And I think that's really important. And I think it's really rewarding now with social media, being an African American woman and not being a size 2, to see images of other people that look like me and have full, fulfilling lives. And so I try to fill my feed with other people that look like me. And I probably am. People shouldn't do this, but you fill your feed with people that like sound like you too, and you probably shouldn't. But just like surrounding myself with positive images, surrounding myself with images of women empowered, women of color empowered, and knowing that like that's something that I can aspire to. And then maybe by living my true, unfiltered, authentic life, maybe I'm inspiring someone else. So
I think your words inspire me in this moment because, like today, I didn't post very often. At the game, on my Instagram feed, I posted some stuff. Little would have anyone known that because we're going to the game, I drove you to your work this morning because I've been staying at your place, and I came back and I went to breakfast by myself. I didn't post any of that. I could have. I mean, it wouldn't have been a terrible thing. Yeah. And then I was like tired, and then I napped. I didn't really do anything today. But then I'm at the game, and I'm posting stuff, and it seems all cool. And someone out there might have seen it and thought that this is Curt's cool or something. I don't know what people think. But, the other hours of the day, not cool. Being lazy and not having any ambition for a few hours.
Well, I don't know if you've ever noticed. I like post myself like, look, I'm on a date with my favorite person. It's like literally just me eating by myself. But
I think that's what you're saying. Like I post the 10% or whatever percent of the best, coolest things I do because maybe I'm more ashamed to post the other things. You're shaking your head no, but that's one of the things I admire about you is that you will post all kinds of stuff and it's entertaining regardless. You make mundane types of things be kind of entertaining and worth like sharing. And I think I can and others can strive to not have to just have the perfect things that we're posting. Just there's things that we do that I think can be inspiring. And what you said makes me realize, okay, if I'm going to be on the social media endeavor, and I think we kind of all have to if we're trying to promote something. Like I don't know exactly what you're trying to promote with yours, other than just like what you just said. Like you're not trying to build your career necessarily through it or promote a podcast. I'm trying to get more people to think, hey, this Curt guy is someone I want to follow because of whatever. But I struggle to know what that whatever would be besides going to a game in Seattle tonight. There's something to learn from your approach, and I appreciate you sharing.
See, you like it when I post me going to the doctor?
What kind of doctor?
All doctors. I love posting shots of me at the dentist. Those are my favorites.
See, I don't know if they would like this, but if you were at the doctor, the dentist, and you put the doctor, the dentist into your video and did it in some entertaining way, I think that would be hilarious, but I don't know.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
The final segment every episode is my being wrong segment.
You were wrong about you. Oh, I'm so sorry. It is so cold.
I'm afraid to see what time it is.
It's 11:48, and some of us have to work 8 hours tomorrow. But anyway,
Being wrong segment.
being wrong, you were wrong about me.
What was it wrong about you?
When you first met me. Done. Check it off the list. Segment's over. Wrap up the
It's
podcast.
not about when I was wrong. It's about when you were wrong.
Oh my God. When have I ever been wrong?
I'm sure it's never happened before.
Never. I'm pretty much perfect.
Is there anything that you've changed your mind about drastically over the course of your life or maybe recent years that is also a lesson that you think is worth sharing? Of one point in history you thought one way and then you thought very, very different sometime later, and the previous version of Marlena was wrong, not the current version.
Yeah, I'm working on 2.0 right now. She's a hot mess. The definition of happiness and success and what that looked like. I think there definitely was a point in time. Oh, what did I tell everyone? Oh my God, for the longest time I couldn't remember how old I was. Funny or not, because I kept saying I'm gonna be engaged at 25. I'm gonna be married at 27. I'm gonna have my first baby at 30. I'm gonna have a house. Like, I had this whole definition of success. And when I didn't get engaged at 25, every year I was like, just keep turning 25 until it happens. And there was a point where I forget, like, people would ask me how old I was, and it wasn't even just like I was saying 25. I had started doing math. I was like, oh, like, in like 6 years when I'm like 31. And my friend's like, you won't be 31 in 6 years. Like, you'll be like 35. Like, Marlena, and like I finally was like, no, I need to like stop like lying to myself or whatever. And it's like letting go. Like, I think we see, again, it goes to like what we see in the media and what we feel are like our feeds with, not just like your social feed, just like what you feed yourself, period, in terms of like the news you consume, the books you read, the influences and people you have in your life. I try very hard to only surround myself with positive people. Again, sometimes like people have negative days, but if you are not bringing something positive to my life, you have no purpose in my life. I don't need more friends. I don't need people that aren't a part of my squad and my team. If you're not lifting me up and I'm not lifting you up, there we have nothing to say to each other. But sorry, back to what I've been wrong about. I've been wrong about like, so like to me, like success was like you get your college degree, you get married, you have a house, you have a baby. And that was what success was. And I was just pushing so hard towards that. And once I let that go, and because like I said before earlier in the podcast, I was pushing so hard towards that, I was saying no to other opportunities. People, like I had a friend invite me to Guatemala for a week. And essentially all I had to pay for was my plane ticket. And I was like, no. Or like, and they were just like, and that's not the only instance. Like, there were just so many times I always said no. Or we even be like, I'm saying no so I can spend more time with my significant other because this is better for building towards our like future marriage or something like that. And I think when I finally let go of that notion of like what happiness looked like and what success looked like, and just truly started doing things that was like, in this moment, eating 5 donuts makes me happy. Bad example. Mm-hmm. I do eat 5 donuts, but like in this moment, like this is what makes me happy, and it makes me feel like it's not just about instant like gratification. I don't want it to sound like that. It makes me feel like a more rounded person. Like that's what true happiness is. And I can't worry about what's going to happen in 5 years. I need to worry about what's making me a better person in this moment. And by being a better person in this moment, I'll be my best self in 5 years. Does that make sense?
I like that. And the focusing on the positive people and only having positive people and not allowing yourself to give time to people that aren't going to add anything. I think I do that pretty well. I'm always afraid that other people aren't doing this well at all. And I just want them to recognize these opportunities to see something differently and do better about that, because negative people, just whatever is negative in our lives, if we put our focus on that, it's so draining. And it's happened to me before. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. It's something you got to get rid of pretty quickly. Otherwise, it really ruins some stuff for a while.
Yeah, I think like when we're younger, we're so focused on making other people like us. And you have to realize that the people that truly care about you are going to be there for you in your good times and your bad times. And so if you have people that only like you when you're your best or you're doing things for them, like they don't actually care about you. So move on to the next. And the same thing, I feel like a lot of people, and maybe I'm just a selfish person, but a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to help others that don't actually want help, because if someone actually wants help, they're going to be making the changes they need to in their lives. And I think that's fine to like support that person. But if that person's not making active changes in their life, you can't do anything about it. And so there's no need for you to drain yourself trying to fix something that they're not trying to fix, if that makes any sense. And so, and that's not to say like don't be there for people, but don't kill yourself for someone that's not trying to.
If someone clearly isn't open to receiving help, but yet trying to help them, it obviously isn't going to work. You need to. I hope. I'm trying to promote people that it's okay to ask for help. I still struggle sometimes asking for help. But if you're trying to help someone that doesn't want your help, of course, that's not gonna get anywhere.
And I also feel like you're your best. You can be best help to someone else when you're happy and healthy. Like if I'm not in a good, positive place, how can I help you? Like, and it kind of goes to that whole like misery loves company. Like if I'm not in a good, positive place, how can I build you up? And it's not to say like people can't be there for each other. I'm sorry, this is probably just like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like I feel like by investing in yourself and being your best possible self, it actually can have a more positive impact on other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think because it's one of those like lead by example. If someone can look at you and really see clearly that you're doing things well for yourself and you're living well for yourself, then they're probably more likely to follow your lead. Where if you're just trying to help someone, but they can see through you and know that you're still struggling in all these ways, I think the help might be nice, but there's something kind of fraudulent about someone thinking they can help others if they can't help themselves.
Yeah, and it's just like I see people again like on Instagram, they're like I have bloggers illustrate come out and say, hey, look at this beautiful photo I posted when I was actually really sad and depressed. And it's just, by them owning up to that and being like, these are the things I'm doing to better myself, it makes me actually, because I know that they're investing in their selves and making themselves better and happier, I realize that I can also, like, there's ways for me to follow their lead and their example and make myself better and happier too. So it's not to say that like because you're not your best possible self, you can't help anyone. But I think that when you invest in yourself and you really focus on yourself, it just has a greater positive impact like all around. Sorry, so I was saying that like when we're younger, we're so focused on making everybody else happy. I forget what I was talking about because it's almost midnight.
It's okay. I think we can, unless you have more to add to this conversation, we can close it down here.
On and on. Do you want me to talk about Beyonce?
I don't. Well, aren't you Beyonce? I thought this was a conversation with Beyonce.
That's why you can never air the video because people might see my true identity.
Marlena, thank you.
Wait, we're done?
Well, no, if you don't want to be, it's
I literally
fine.
have nothing else to say.
You do. I'm sure we can come up with more, but we'll leave it there for now. Thank you for the weekend, hosting me, and being someone that... Oh, this is the one thing I wanted to add. Like,
oh, wait.
What?
Oh, no, I probably already said this, but the whole thing about being wrong. So I thought that's what happiness looked like, but when I stopped trying to fit my life into these little pictures and started saying yes to new opportunities and challenging myself, that's when I found true happiness. Like being true and authentic to myself. That's what I'm...
There it is. That's what you're searching for, and you found it.
Yeah, found it.
And for this to happen here, to tie a bow on it, if we hadn't connected, and sure, the first night you were
when you thought I was boring.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I thought.
I was seeking that house with 3 kids, and you're like, oh God, here's another boring Minnesota
Run for
girl.
your life, Curt.
Yeah.
That's probably right before you turn 25. So we dodged that bullet.
Yeah.
Wait, is that I don't know. Wait, what is the point? But we've maintained. We haven't been close. We haven't seen each other in 3 years. We're not like super close, but we stay in contact. We comment on each other's things. We've maintained a good long-distance friendship for some time, and something like this can happen. And this is what I want for my life, to have good people in my life scattered about that will welcome me when I want to come, and people that could come visit me. Like, I want people to come visit me if we've got something good built and established. And I've been doing this for years, like, Not like a specific goal of trying to like stay at anybody's place anywhere, but just knowing that if I have good friends, good connections in a lot of places, down the road, opportunities will present themselves and I'll be able to take advantage of it. And I've done that for myself. That's from my angle, this, and working hard extra when I can to have more money to afford to do these things. Did some good credit card games. I flew here for free because I used some credit card points for the miles. There's a bunch of things you can do at this moment or in the near term that will help you in the long term. And I feel like this, if I would have said no to coming on this trip, what would have all that been for me? This is what I want, to go to some game in a stadium I've never been, hang out with someone I don't get to see that often, but I always have fun with. And this has been amazing, and I appreciate you for that. And I hope to spread that vibe out to other people that just build good connections that perhaps, not all of them will, but some of them will turn into more opportunities in the future to do more of the things that you want to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marlena.
Sorry, I'm just so tired.
Okay.
Sorry, thanks, Curt.
Thank you. I appreciate it.